All right, welcome. ZASLOW Show 2.0. It is a Wednesday, the 11th of January. Good to have you aboard. We are now a Blue Wire podcast show, as today is the debut of ZASLOW Show 2.0 on the Blue Wire Podcast Network. I'm so excited about it. I wanted something like that from the get-go. When we started this venture, when we started ZASLOW Show 2.0, Blue Wire was the podcast network that I knew of. I didn't know a whole lot about podcasting, but I knew of Blue Wire because they have the big names like Duncan Robinson's podcast, The Long Shot, he's on Blue Wire. Chris Long is on Blue Wire. Richard Jefferson's on Blue Wire. My guy Chris Van Vliet, who was on the show last week, who's one of my favorites. He, of course, is huge on Blue Wire. So Blue Wire Podcast, they reached out to me not too long ago. They were excited. They were interested. And if they were interested, I'm interested, So that was a real thrill to start talking with them and to wind up coming to an agreement. And today, the debut show of ZASLOW Show 2.0 as part of Blue Wire Podcasts. So nothing changes on your end. Got to make sure that you know about that. Literally, if you've been a subscriber to ZASLOW Show 2.0, you're still getting the feed the exact same way that you were getting it before. Nothing has changed on your end. You will notice there's going to be I do live, love my sponsors. You got to support the sponsors. I got great sponsors, of course. ZASLOW Show 2.0 title sponsor. We are always presented by Anidjar and Levine Accident Attorneys, all right? This was, I'm serious, none of this is possible without Anidjar and Levine Accident Attorneys. 800-747-FREE. If you have an injury from an accident, they're going to take care of you. Get a lawyer on the phone right away. You trust them because I'm telling you can trust them, all right? But none of this happens without them getting on board immediately and really not only giving me the credibility, but also giving me the boost of confidence that I needed right from the get-go. That's the God's honest truth. So you got to support the sponsors. Of course, we got Briny Irish Pub. We got Brunt Insurance. We got Johnny Cuba, official beer of ZASLOW Show 2.0. And Doctors on Call 365, coming right out to your home and making sure that you're getting better. You don't want to be sick. So you got to support the sponsors. I love those guys. This isn't possible without them. Certainly not possible without you guys, the listener. But you'll also notice there are going to be a few more commercials that are on the show now. And that's a good thing. There's no other way to look at it. That's a good thing. Now, it's never going to be like the commercial breaks like on terrestrial radio. That's never going to be the case. And, more commercials means the show's having success. Means the show's doing well. And it also means keep everything free for you guys. I'm never going to put anything behind a paywall, all right? I don't, some people probably do that in podcasts or what have you. That's never going to be the case. I'm never going to do that, all right? You can put this down. You can write it in ink, all right? I'm never going to put anything behind a paywall. I'm not important enough, for you guys to have to pay to listen to what I have to say. But more commercials means the better the show is doing, and it also makes sure that we can keep everything free. All right, so there you have it. So I hope that the adjustment over here to Blue Wire, as far as, look, I got a whole team here, all right? I got a whole team. I got a whole crew working, everybody. Hey, you guys do a great job. I got a whole crew working on this show, all right? So my team, the only thing that might change is me, having to get the podcast, to get the show up on the Blue Wire network. But I think I got a handle of everything. Matter of fact, if you're listening right now, I got a handle of it. Everything worked out great, all right? If you can't listen to the show right now, then it didn't go well. But if you are listening right now, then everything went great. My crack team, all you guys, you're doing such a terrific job putting the show together. Everyone got it right, all right? So nothing changes on your end, and I'm super appreciative and just really thrilled to be part of Blue Wire Podcast Network. I think it's the next step, obviously, in ZASLOW Show 2.0. Tell your friends, tell your family, tell your mother I say hello, and make sure you like, you rate, you comment, you do all of that good stuff. So really glad to have you aboard here, and I'm super excited to be aboard with Blue Wire Podcast. Really terrific, and I appreciate those guys, everyone who's helped me out as far as, making this transition smooth. They've really made it very easy. So anyway, that's a little business that we started the show off with. But the important business, right, is your Miami Heat last night. First of all, we got the double dip. Everybody knows what the double dip is. The double dip is when the Heat and the Panthers play on the same night. All right. And last night was really cool because it wasn't at the same time. You get the Heat at 7:30, TNT exclusive game. I told you, though, yesterday, even if the game was also on Bally, I was going to watch TNT because now that I'm not on the Heat broadcast anymore, back then, if I'm doing the road games and do the road games in the studio, of course, we're talking about the ZASLOW Mansion Network studios. I'd be going into the studio. That was for the birds. But if I'm doing the game from the ZASLOW Mansion Network studios, I'm watching the local feed. I'm watching Bally, of course, watching my guys, Eric Reed and John Crotty. But now that I'm not on the broadcast anymore, it's like, you know what? Let me give the TNT broadcast a listen. Now, granted, I didn't even realize last night was a TNT-only game. And you had, it was Brian Anderson, Stan Van Gundy, Grant Hill on the call. Stan Van Gundy, that's my guy. He's going to hop on the show today. We're going to get Stan Van Gundy on the Johnny Cuba guest line. Of course, everybody knows Johnny Cuba. That is the official beer of ZASLOW Show 2.0. We're talking European roots with a Caribbean soul. Start with a refreshing German lager in a can. Grab a six-pack of Johnny at your local Sedanos. Winn-Dixie, Presidente, Fresco y Mas. Don't forget Johnny Cuba's mantra, stay tranquilo. And last night, if you had a Johnny in your hand and you were watching the Heat last night, you were very pleased with the way they were able to get through that game. They didn't shoot well. They shot under 40%. Matter of fact, the Thunder shot pretty well themselves, but that's the kind of game, shorthanded, and a scrappy Oklahoma City team. You take that win. I liked last night. So like I said, Stan Van Gundy was on the call last night. He's going to join ZASLOW Show 2.0 today. I haven't spoken to Stan in a few years. I got to be honest. I used to talk to him pretty often. I haven't spoken to him in a long time. So saw that he was doing the game last night. Like, all right, let's get Stan on the show. So we'll get Stan Van Gundy. We're big fans. We'll get him on the show coming up in a little bit after I go through all the stuff that happened last night. But last night, you had the Heat at 7:30, and then you had the Panthers at 9:30. All right, so you got to have the Heat game bleed into the Panther game. Let me take a sip of my vitamin water here real quick. I love vitamin water. All right, anyway, nobody cares about me. So you were able to have the Heat bleed into the Panther game, a thrilling finish to the Heat game, which we'll get to in a second. And then, of course, can the Panthers possibly win at Colorado? Defending Stanley Cup champions. I know they're not what they were last year. They're having a little bit of a struggle, the Avalanche, but still it's a road game in Colorado, defending Stanley Cup champions. And you got the double dip. That's right. The double dip, everybody knows, is when the Heat and the Panthers play on the same night and they both win. You have two options. If they both win, that's the double dip. If they both lose, that's the double dick punch. Nobody wants the double dick punch, but the double dip, everybody wants. And last night, you got the double dip. How about that? So the Heat and the Panthers, they both come through for you, and both of them really winning in thrilling fashion. So we'll start out with the Heat, of course. And I was really into the Heat game. Now, maybe I was feeling good. I was excited about my deal with Blue Wire. I mean, granted, it was a Tuesday night. Decided to pour myself a little bit of the brown, pour myself a nice drink. So maybe because I had the drink in me, I was a little fired up over the Heat game last night. But also, I like the way the Heat are playing lately. I do. And while they didn't play great last night, but for a team that shoots under 40% for the game, to still manage to score 112 and 40 for 40 from the free throw line and come from behind late as well. I mean, we were down by 5 with a little more than a minute left in the game. You had Oladipo with the three-pointer, cuts it to 2, and we'll get to the finish in a second. But I was feeling good about myself last night. Had myself a nice drink during the game, and I was actually on the edge of my couch in the ZASLOW Mansion family room, watching the Heat on the ZASLOW Mansion family room big TV, and then off to the side, I had the Panthers, ZASLOW Mansion family room small TV. So I was on the edge of the couch, and I would stand up and cheer him. I was doing the fist pumping. I was into him, man. I didn't care that my son was over in the kitchen doing some studying. I was yelling out to him, "Son, make sure you watch the end here. We're about to win it." I didn't care, all right? The most important thing that was going on in the ZASLOW Mansion house last night was the finish of that Heat game last night. We got to pull out that win. So down by 5. Now, there's several big takeaways from the Heat game last night, all right? And we're starting with the finish. We're starting with Jimmy Butler. So, down by 5, it ain't looking so hot. Josh Giddey with like a couple baskets in a row. Good player. That Thunder team, they're 5 games under 500 right now. Granted, much better than they thought they were expected to be. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is not a good player. He's a great player. And I love those trades where it works out for both teams. That's one of those deals, Clippers and Thunder. Paul George over the Clippers. Certainly Sam Presti, pointed out, hey, if you want Paul George, you want Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, who I think had just finished his rookie season at the time. I can't imagine they thought he was going to be this good, but that's a trade that works out for everybody. You may be able to say it worked out better for Oklahoma City because the Clippers haven't done shit with Paul George. And the Thunder, they have a superstar piece to build the rest of their team around. Josh Giddey. Next year, they'll get Chet Holmgren. He'll be healthy. And then who knows what happens with some of these draft picks. They got 1 million draft picks. So they should be on Sam Presti and the Thunder should be on an episode of Hoarders. They have too many draft picks. But anyway, so the Heat are down by 5. You come out of a timeout. Oladipo, let's go, dog. And Oladipo knocks down the 3. I'm so happy with Victor Oladipo, man. I think he's back. Now, when I say I think he's back, we're not talking he's going to be the all-star that he was in Indiana. But he is clearly a player who needs to be on the floor finishing games for the Heat. And that's why I told you, my go-to closing 5 when the Heat have everybody, which they never do, is Oladipo, Hero, Butler, Highsmith, Bam. No Lowry. No Lowry. You got 4 guys who are big offensive players. You got 4 guys who are big defensive players there. And I trust Highsmith. I trust him on the floor out there. He is not a great defender. That's my closing 5. Oladipo's back. And we'll talk about this with Stan Van Gundy, and we've been talking about this for a couple days now. The Heat didn't add anyone in the offseason. Clearly, once the Kevin Durant stuff did not materialize, the way that they were going to get better had to come from internal growth. They're clearly getting it from Bam. He is a big-time offensive player now. And another place where they had to get the internal growth, they needed a healthy Oladipo. And they needed him to be an impact player. And I think he's back. And if that's the case, Oladipo's only been, back for a few games now. And the Heat find themselves out there a couple games over 500. You got 39 games remaining in the season. This team can do some damage. Yes, if they're healthy, of course. That's what we're talking about here. But if they just added, kind of close to all-star form, close to peak form Victor Oladipo, that's a big difference maker for this team. And I think he's back. I'm very happy for him. So Oladipo, he hits the 3 there. You had to have that shot to give yourself a chance. You need the basket. You need a stop. You need a basket. Boom. You could tie the game. All right, because you're down by 5. Oladipo gets the 3. Now they're within 2. They end up fouling. I forget who it was that they fouled. And then you get the furious finish.
Misses both. And an offensive board. Wiggins. And it's loose. And here comes Oladipo. 2-point game. Butler goes down on the block. And Butler scores. And
the experience of Jimmy Butler in the post has the rookie on him. Great ball fake. Able to sell it. Initiating the contact with the body. And a 3-point play opportunity. And an opportunity to take the lead here.
Hell yeah. Okay, you love that because you love Jimmy going to the basket there for the second game in a row. But if you were watching the game, you saw how fired up Jimmy was after he got that shot. And he doesn't show a ton of emotion. Now, granted, it's a potential game-winning shot. So there are a couple really cool things that happen here. So it's a potential game-winning shot. He gets the foul. He's super pumped up. And you have to believe part of that, because remember, we talked about this yesterday. Jimmy didn't blame the referees from the loss against Brooklyn. We know They got it wrong on the floor, and the league's last 2-minute report got it wrong. So they were double wrong. Jimmy didn't complain. Jimmy said after that game, I got to make that shot. I got to finish that shot. He never complains. I love that about him. This is such a no-excuse team, the Miami Heat. I love that about Jimmy. It's part of why I don't like Kyle Lowry. Like, Kyle Lowry, just how hard he plays all the time, that's very Heat culture. But the nonstop complaining, the out of shape, it's so not the Heat. It's so easy to, or I should say, it's so hard to like him. I was going to say it's so easy to dislike him, but either one. Like, I don't know. It's so not what we do. I love that Jimmy Butler never complains. And I have to believe, after that finish to Brooklyn where he's blaming himself, I got to finish that. And he's right. He then gets the exact same type of scenario at the end of the game, gets the basket and the foul, potentially to win the game. He was fired up, and you have to believe that it was in the back of his mind. It's like, yeah, this time I'm finishing this game. So that was awesome. And then the next really cool part, the Heat, they're 20 for 20 from the line. They're 23 for 23 from the line. They're 29 for 29 from the line. Now they got the all-time franchise record. They're approaching the all-time record, which was 39 for 39. They tie it earlier in the fourth quarter. 39 for 39. All-time record is tied. And with a chance to get the all-time NBA record for most free throw attempts in a game without a miss, it's going to have to come to win the game. Game on the line, just a few seconds remaining. It's going to have to come at the very end of the game. And Jimmy knocks it down. 40 for 40 from the free throw line. All-time NBA record. And it's a game winner from Jimmy Butler. Hell yeah. I was very fired up for that game. And you know what it was? When Jimmy got the ball, he made the move in the paint. He makes the pump fake. Defenders in the air. I swear to God. You know my style. If I was at the game, you have to hold me back. Ruth Riley would have to hold me back. I jump up when the defender went up in the air. You're all watching. You're watching from home, you know what I'm talking about. If you know what I'm talking about, you message me right now at ZASLOW Show on Twitter. I'm at ZASLOW Show at ZASLOW Show J on Instagram, where I'm an influencer. But you can tweet at me at ZASLOW Show. You know what I'm talking about. Defender went up in the air. I immediately jumped off the couch and I went right into fist pump mode. I was so fired up because right when that defender went up in the air, you knew we won the game. You do. You knew it. You knew we won the game. Defender got up in the air. Jimmy's going to get the contact. He's going to finish. And you figure he'll make the free throw. But once defender got up in the air, you knew we won the game. And it's exactly what happened. Drew the contact, got the call, basket's good, and the free throw. Heat win. It was maybe the most excited I've been all year. Even more than the Tyler Hero hitting the three in Utah. Like, that was super cool, But there's something about at home, And the Heat have not been good at home this year. They're actually a good road team now. The Heat have not been good at home this year. And you kind of figure, God, I want to get the home crowd something to be fired up about. Which, by the way, shout out, man, to that home crowd. It's a Tuesday night against Oklahoma City. And by the way, Bam's not playing, Hero's not playing. Now, not that you would get the word that you have tickets to the game, Bam and Hero aren't playing. Like, oh, I'm not going to go. That wouldn't happen. But it's a Tuesday night against Oklahoma City. And that building's packed to the gills, man. I told you, when I was there a few weeks ago, who were we playing? Who did we play that night? Indiana. Yeah, we played Indiana. Terrible game. And it was a Monday night against Indiana. And I said to my friend, look at this place. Packed. Team's mediocre. Packed. And even last night, we're a game over 500 going into that game last night. It's a Tuesday night, downtown Miami against Oklahoma City. And the place is packed. Really great job by the Heat fans. So cool. Great crowd, great finish. Really happy with the way the team is playing right now. That's why the Brooklyn game was so disappointing, because I really liked the way the team played. But, you got to start stringing together these wins, man. So next up, you got a back-to-back at home. Well, it's Thursday and then Saturday. Saturday afternoon, ABC. How about that? That's a sports day. Before the NFL gets going at 4:30, 1 p.m. Heat Bucks, FTX Arena. You know what? I may be trying to go. I might be trying to go to Heat Bucks on Saturday afternoon. Now, everybody knows if I'm trying to go to a game, that means I'm putting out the bat signal. That means I'm looking for the hookup. I might be trying to go Saturday afternoon, Heat and Bucks. Now, that's preceded by Thursday night, Heat and Bucks. So you got 2 in a row here. I think realistically, you're looking for a split. That's a lot to ask for. Can we take 2 straight games against the Milwaukee Bucks? That's a lot to ask for. So, you get them, they get you, or they get you, you get them. That'll be understandable. Getting both, that's tough. That's tough. So that's what's up next for the Heat. The other story. So I gave you, there were 3 big stories from the game last night. 1, I think Victor Oladipo's back. 2, Jimmy Butler finishes when he couldn't finish against Brooklyn. And number 3, Dwayne Dedmon. What the hell? What the hell? So you get an argument between Dedmon and Karan, I guess. And then Spo jumps in there, and you get the back and forth there. The part that we don't know yet, maybe we know by now, but not at the time of this recording, Dedmon decides to leave. He's walking to the back room there. Now, this came after, you got to remember, he did not get the start. Bam's out. He did not get the start, and we all know Orlando Robinson should be getting all the backup center minutes. He should. And that's going to be tough for a veteran who's proud. He's been a good backup center for most of his career. And now he sees the writing on the wall. He's going to lose his minutes. He didn't even get the start last night. Robinson did. And then Dedmon comes in and he gets pulled pretty quick. He's pissed off. So it's a tough situation now. Now, was he sent to the back? Or did he decide, you know what, I'm not playing anymore? Either one is not good. And as he's walking to the back, he smacks like a chair, which somehow the massage gun goes flying onto the court. He then gets ejected. And you can't do it. Can't do it. You can't do it. Number 1, someone could get hurt. Now, I know he didn't mean to do that. But number 2, the Heat had 8 guys available last night. Because we're not counting Haslam. So Dedmon now made it, we got 7 guys available. I mean, Jamal Cain's playing big-time minutes. It's a selfish move from Dedmon. I would expect the Heat to suspend him for a game. I think the league's going to. I would expect the Heat to suspend him for a game. Very similar to a few years ago where Hassan Whiteside was behaving poorly. Team suspended him for conduct detrimental. I imagine they'll suspend it. They're not cutting him. I know there's talk about how his contract's not guaranteed next year, so he's not going to be back with the team. Well, yeah, that's true. But you're not going to cut him because they're going to try and trade him. You're going to try and use his contract in a trade before the deadline in February to improve the team. There's no way they're just waiving him. That's silly. That's not going to happen. But the writing's clearly on the wall. Orlando Robinson should be getting all of his minutes. He's just a better player right now. And I would expect Dedmon to be suspended for a game, but you also got to remember, the team prides themselves on, they love this stuff. And I'm not saying that Eric Spoelstra and the team likes Dwayne Dedmon tossing or, hitting the massage gun onto the floor, getting thrown out, technical foul, only 7 plays. They don't like that, but they love the whole, listen to Eric Spoelstra here when he's asked about it by Stephanie Reddy going into the 4th quarter.
So we showed Devin getting ejected. Can you tell us what happened there?
It's a regular Tuesday night with the Miami Heat. We're in a 1-point game, and we have some skirmishes on the bench.
They secretly love that stuff where they get to say, it's a Tuesday night Miami Heat basketball. They love that stuff. And, they're not going to get rid of him right now because you can't, I don't think you could preach the whole, we're a family, emotions are high, we thrive in those type of situations. And for a guy who's been on the team, I think this is 3rd or 4th year, you can't, I think it's his 3rd year. I don't think he was on the finals team, so I think it's his 3rd year. You can't then get rid of, he's part of your family, And family is allowed to make mistakes and apologize. So yes, it was a selfish play from Dedmon, but you can't just get rid of him. Like, I think that would kind of go against what the team stands for, you know? And especially when they love the whole, we thrive in this type of situation, this type of energy. That's just a Tuesday night Miami Heat basketball. They love that. They love being able to say that. They love that stuff. So anyway, those were your three big things. Those were your three big stories from the game last night. Like I said, Stan Van Gundy is going to join us coming up in a little bit, and we'll continue on with the Heat last night. Next up, Thursday and Saturday afternoon against the Milwaukee Bucks there in town here. The Panthers last night, I'll do a little bit of Panthers here real quick. I had to mentally prepare. The Panthers were so ripe to blow that game. They're up 3-0 in the blink of an eye in the first period. And really through the first two periods, the Panthers played great. When it was 0-0, they were not playing well. Once they got that first goal, and it was Barkov, beautiful goal off the backhand. He gets it going 1-0. Then you get the goal from Montour. Then you get the goal from, who was it? Sam Bennett gets a dirty goal. You're up 3-0. Nice. 3-1 at the end of the first period. Okay. Tkachuk makes it 4-1 late in the second. So you're up 4-1 going into the third. Well, the Avalanche make it 4-2. Then it's 4-3 20 seconds later. Such a soft goal Bobrovsky gave up. And at that point, when it's 4-3, you got to mentally prepare that they're going to blow it. You know where this is going. It's going from a game that you could hope is like a catalyst, a jumping off point to get this thing going. Team hasn't won 3 straight games all year. And now I have to mentally prepare at midnight to go to sleep aggravated with the Panthers. After that Heat win, you're going to do this to me, Panthers? And then they tie the game, which you saw coming. Then you get a miracle where you get the review, the play was offside. Okay, we get thrown a lifeline there. But you know then, the next goal, instead of it being the winner, is going to be to tie the game. And like a minute later, they tie the game. I mean, think about that for a second. The Panthers, after being up 4-1 at the third period, start of the third period, in the span of like a minute, gave up 2 game-tying goals. Now, one of them was taken away, of course, but it's so this team this year. So I have to mentally prepare that they're definitely going to lose this game. It's 4-4. And with just a few minutes left in the game, Panthers get really lucky. Like, Matthew Tkachuk ends up getting his second goal of the game, another dirty goal, but like he's chipping away at it. Cale Makar, he's trying to hit the puck away, but as he hits it away, it bounces off the skate of his own player into the back of the net. Tkachuk gets credit for the goal because he was the last Panther to touch it, but then it was touched by 2 Avalanche players. Panthers get the game-winning goal there, and they hang on late, a 5-4 win. Huge win for the Panthers, super-duper stressful, but nonetheless, they come away with the win. So we end up going to sleep last night with the double dip. That's what I'm talking about. All right,